I just had an exciting experience incorporating video into a story that Lilith magazine published.
Which magazine?
Lilith magazine,
Okay.
Jewish women's magazine, feminist magazine, and they were excited. So was I, because I knew this video had been made all about the people and the story. And so in 3 places in this story, I knew that if I used each a piece of this video, it would bring to life the people who were just names. At our work, we were really excited.
You had a question?
Yes, actually, I had 2. Ken, you had mentioned boosting for $5 or something.
Yeah.
Where was that? Facebook or?
On
was
Facebook,
that?
yeah.
Okay.
And I'm surprised. And Twitter, you can do it, but I've never used it on Twitter. But on Facebook, you can put. I usually put like between $1 and $3 on what I think is a good posting, and that will generally get it about 20 to 30% more distribution. And I find sometimes it'll take a video that's not doing a lot at the beginning. It'll get it started, and then. But I think it's worth it, and usually, no more than $3 a posting. But if you have something really good, I mean, you're talking to a VIP, you got a really good piece of content, and you put it on Facebook. Yeah, you can put a couple of dollars on it, or you gauge depending on how big your audience is, how big your site is. That will help get it out to more people, and will, I think, accelerate Facebook's distribution. Facebook loves video right now.
Mm-hmm. Another question. This one's pretty selfish because I have to go to a big trade show in a few weeks, and it's loud and noisy, and my boss insists that we do this, and I have to create videos, add up my own booth, and talk to strangers and ask them to be in videos.
Have a smile on your face while you're saying this.
I'm just like, a lot of people are really shy, coming to your booth, and they don't want to be in a video. They don't even want their picture taken a lot of times. Of course, you're going to find people who do. How do you approach something like that?
For me, I mean, one, definitely get a shotgun microphone. You can just look it up, or a shotgun microphone, kind of like this, I find, but I'm not very technical, so Ken may have better answers, but a shotgun microphone to eliminate everything else except what's coming out of the mouth. That's a shotgun. You can just look it up and we can help you afterwards. But shotgun microphone, make sure you have a long wire. I'm just giving you some tips, and a tripod. So I'd say to ask people, it's a human dimension thing, so it's really hard to say how to do it, but let's say I'm trying to get Ken. You can read his face. He's busy. He's walking fast. Clearly, he just may not want to be bothered. But a smile, and I would say you're not asking the question like, could you help me? Selfishly, hey Ken, I can see that you're an expert in toys. Could I ask you 3 tips for how children could use toys safely? The only answer Ken's going to give if he's any decent person is yes. You know what I'm saying? You're preying off, again, that selfishness. So that's how I would suggest, I don't know the event, but that kind of thing. Nobody wants to be bothered. And some people are downright shy. You can't get over that. But asking it that way, hey sir, I'm making it up. I see you're an expert in something. Could you help us understand when doing a short video? So that's the kind of way I would start to get that discussion.
Make them feel like they're a big expert.
Right. Yeah.
The other thing is that's what I'd call an ultra unstructured situation, because you're just having people come up to you in that moment. What I would simply do, it's like almost any type of interviewing. Ask the person where they're from. Mm-hmm. What company are they from? Why did you decide to come to this conference? What do you hope to learn? Great. And that's what you do on the first day. If, let's say it's a 2-day event, you then say, okay, what's impressed you at the conference so far? What have you learned? And you don't have to make it about yourself, but you're building a relationship just the fact that the person talks to you. And you say, and so after the conference has been on for a while, I say, what have you learned? What's impressed you? What have you enjoyed? And then perhaps tell us about your company. And make it about them, what they're thinking, their trends, their company, and that'll get people to open up, and believe me, they'll remember you.
And if you'd like a copy of this or would like us to tweet it out to you, feel free to do whatever on the side, move them along, write it down, or some easy method. Now you're full circle. You're going to share with them on Twitter, tag them, or email them. You're building your list, blah, 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 blah.
And if you know anyone who's going to be at the show, have a couple of people who are friends, in the business sense, stop by, and so you can get those first couple videos going. So if someone sees someone else being videoed, maybe they're more comfortable to get videoed. I've done a lot of events where I've called like maybe some vendors or some analysts who I know are going to be at the event and just say, hey, can you stop by the booth? I want to talk to you for 2 minutes about like what you've learned, what's important, what trend are you seeing? So.
And you also can just, someone behind the pole there, just, too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Lady
Well, go
back
ahead,
there.
and then we'll ask.
Okay, I was talking with Ramon before we started, and Ramon, you mentioned the idea that you don't always need to do a talking head, you can do just points with a background. Could you talk a little bit further about that?
Yeah, what we were talking, I got the idea from a marketing company. The point is, you all know what blogs are. You have, let's say they're structured, 5 points, 5 ways, 3 ways, 10 ways. One of the things I've done for my site, Smart Hustle Magazine, we take that blog post and we turn the blog post into a video. We put music beginning, you don't have to do music, but music beginning, music end, so dun 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 dun, end. And then we just take the key points, just the bullet point words, and we add in B-roll, B-roll meaning, those of you don't stock photography, stock images, to the video. So let's say we're saying 5 ways to use your phone. Pick it up, press the button, and smile. The video then becomes dun 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 dun. Pick it up. Words. Pick it up. Come on the video. Point 2. Hold it. Not by face now, but just text. No. Point number 2. It's still point number 3. Shake it and smile. We find B-roll from stockphotography.com or any of these big sites that have a lot of stock. Guys smiling, holding phone. We put that into a video, and now we have 3 ways to hold your phone better, and link back to the full article that had it. So that's how we're able to also have engagement in 30 seconds, 15 seconds. You have a now nice video that visualizes an otherwise text-only blog post.
What tools do you use to create that?
So so many. You can hire anybody from Odesk or your own teams can do it. Video editing software, yeah, that you can, any smart junior video person can do that for you. But the key is stock music, stock photography or video, and you're just any smart person who's reading the article, no editing. So that's why you don't have to have a professional do it. Any person who can just read a structured post, not somebody's life story, but something that's very structured. Take this and pull in key points.
And sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more to using Facebook Live and Periscope and how that either modifies your approach to interviewing or if it means you're seeking other kinds of interviews.
Well, I mostly use Facebook Live at football games for my pregame and postgame shows. Because most of the time when I talk to a player, a coach, or a business executive, I'm concerned about getting a crisp interview that I can play back later. And one of the challenges, Facebook Live is growing tremendously for live events. It makes everybody a broadcaster. The key to it is you got to have good, very strong Wi-Fi available, and that doesn't always happen. It sometimes deteriorates if you're in a room with a lot of people using their cell phone, and you may not be able to do it. But the other thing with Facebook Live is you get whatever amount of time that you were live as a recording, and you can't edit it. So it's there, and a lot of times the beginning of the video is pressing the phone, to start, and that's not a good thumbnail to start.
Oops, wait a minute, other way.
And I'm sure they're going to figure out how to let people edit Facebook Live because Facebook sends it out to a lot of people. And all of a sudden you see your little video went out to 20,000 people, and they're going to work it out so that you can edit it. Because there may be a way to download into YouTube, but I haven't found it yet. So if it depends on whether it's important to capture that moment and get it out to your audience immediately, or to capture it as a recording so people can view it later on or for a long time and allow you to do some editing. Oftentimes you just got to edit out 5 seconds at the beginning, 5 seconds at the end, and that's all you need to do, or you edit out a adult period of a situation or an event. So that's what you have to look at. But boy, Facebook Live, I already had a college basketball game I know that was broadcast on Facebook Live. And so you're going to see a lot of it, but it's a question of bandwidth. You got to have strong bandwidth. I tried to do a Facebook Live pregame show at the Cotton Bowl in December when Army was down there, and there wasn't enough bandwidth. I couldn't do it. I needed to run back up to the press box to where the bandwidth was stronger. And you never can tell.
2 things I would add to that as well, and great advice. I would say that one is that if you can announce it ahead of time, you know, unless you have very big audiences, some celebrities, they get thousands of people watching it. But sometimes I'm able to say, hey, in 2 hours or tomorrow at 8, I'll be at, say, this event today, I'm going to live stream it. That initiates some of the thirst for it, if you wish to do that. That's one. And I'll tell you how I do fake Facebook Live. It's really just regular video, but fake Facebook Live sounds better. Follow me closely here. I'll be brief, very brief. Ginger's a moderator. She says, Ramon, tell us 2 ways to hold our cell phone. You now know I'm going to answer the question, 2 ways to hold your cell phone. What I often do is have my camera ready to just capture the answer. So we're capturing this in real, you know, it's going to be edited later or whatever it is. I capture just that 10-second answer. Now I can post that to all my channels while I'm at the event. I don't know if it makes sense, but I found it much more engaging because I'm able to say, hey, 3 ways you can be a better person from Ginger. Kind of makes sense. So I did that yesterday at the event. I have the whole thing captured. I did some Facebook Live, but when they talked about passion and entrepreneurship was a big question in the entrepreneurial world. So when the moderator said to some like famous person who was on the panel, is passion important for entrepreneurship? I was ready. I captured just her 20-second answer. And I was then able to share that, for example, on Twitter, which has a limit of video, on Instagram, a limit of video. And that got, I don't know why, Ken, I mean, huge engagement. I put passion and entrepreneurship. This famous person answered the question, posted it right during the event. So that's what I call Facebook fake, you know, live. It wasn't live, but that's snippet, because people love snippets.
So you posted, no, that wasn't on Facebook at all, because you can only...
I happened to put it there. No, I put it there. It just wasn't live. I just shot it in my camera roll.
And then you uploaded.
But the key is just the tip. I anticipated what the answer. You know, let's say you're at a big event, famous person, and they say, tell us, is the U.S. economy going to go down? Yellen, I think, is that lady who's in charge of money or something. You know, if you capture that answer, that's gold. You now have, Janet Yellen said it's going to go whatever. So, you know, that kind of makes sense. You're able to anticipate.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a really old-fashioned question.
It's not.
But years ago, when I used to do a lot with video companies, we always needed to get releases from people.
I'll let Kenny answer that question.
And I'm wondering, nobody's even, I mean, is it assumed if you're recording somebody with your phone that you can just put them on YouTube?
Great question.
Or do you need legal? I mean, we used to have to get it from anybody.
I'll give my answer. It's a political question, and it's a valid question. So here's my thing. I'm a handshake, Marcus Lamona, CNBC type person. Hey Ken, can I buy your house for for $200,000? He says yes. We're good to go. That's just how I roll. I think for bigger companies, and this is not a non-legal opinion, you know, you're banking, you have something at stake behind it, I would say for sure, get legal notices and all that. But I'm interviewing Ken here. He could sue me, but it's assumption for this simple thing. Hey Ken, what do you think about this? It's going live. But it's a valid question.
But do you take I mean, we used to have to send them out after
Yeah,
you've done
paper.
Do you take a paper
Yes.
release with you and hand it to somebody
Correct.
as you're recording?
My producers do that. When I'm doing like legit stuff, say I'm doing an engagement with Dell at South by Southwest that I will be doing. I bet we already have releases ready for everybody in that room because it's Dell.
So you do use releases?
I personally don't. When it's Ramon, just, hey Ginger, how was the event today? But what I'm trying to say is, let's say it has the APBFA, this organization's name on it, and it's something more, can't help me, it's
Like
something
formal.
that's at stake, that's formal, that's, you know, I'm doing it with the Army Navy, if that makes sense. That's where I treat it a little more. I don't know how to describe what I'm saying, because if it's just Ramon and Ginger, very unlikely that anybody's going to sue me. It's obvious I have you on camera. But out of respect of the bigger people, so go ahead, Ken.
Well, you remember when I made the point, always ask your host for permission? Because if the host at an event says it's okay for you to do video and say our intent is to interview your speaker after the event, maybe interview a couple of other attendees or co-sponsors, and if they say, yeah, that's fine, then you're good to go. It's like being accredited. When you're covering a sports event, you get accredited to cover that event, which gives you permission to do talks with people, to get access to the field perhaps, but it doesn't give you everything, because there's a lot of, if you're covering a professional sports event, you cannot video the game itself and play it live. That's one of the big issues now. You go to an NFL stadium, there's signs all over the place saying you cannot video this game and use it without our express permission. And it depends on how much the organization that's sponsoring the event or the game wants visibility. I mean, some colleges I work with want as much visibility as they can possibly get, because that's why they sponsor a basketball team or a football team.
But Ken, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
But I think, would you agree, though, answer this lady's question, that's because the overriding agreement is implicit. I'm not a lawyer, but with these people who are at our event as the host, you have the signs up at the stadium. So is that the reason why? Because I think still, if I'm coming to your event and you've given me permission to tape, I can tape her because she's walked into your event and the signs are there. But I think people still have to be careful, because if she doesn't want to be taped, follow what I mean? She can still get us in trouble, if that makes sense what I'm trying to convey. You know, at a public game, they already have the signage up.
Yeah.
And they're crediting you, but you still have to be careful. Meaning, if Ginger said today, sure, Ramon, you can videotape, that doesn't mean I have her permission to put her on camera. That's what I meant to say, I think.
It's all context.
Context is what I'm, yes.
Yeah, when you get to larger events, when you get to commercial trade shows, you have to be more professional. You have to have the permission of the host and the sponsors of that event. And then you have to think about, if you're at the Javits Center, you know, there's a higher level set of rules there that apply. But again, the key is to have permission, to have accreditation for being there. And a lot of that comes from having a relationship with whoever is the host, whoever is organizing, who owns that event, that they see that you're a value add. And then on individual, interviews, as you said, if you're working at a trade booth, you have to, you should say, the person's got to know they're being videotaped. So you're going to say, we'd like to ask you a couple of questions about attending the event, and we're going to videotape it. Is that okay? And they have to say yes. Especially if it's someone you don't know, and you got to be very particular that the person knows that this is going to be a videotaped interview. And then if they say, well, I don't really like it, I don't like my answer I gave, then you got to just wipe it out and say forget about it. And a lot of times I do video, I will put it up on YouTube for a couple of days before I send it out on LinkedIn, so the guest has a chance to see it. And if for some chance they don't like it, or like one time we were working with an organization that was going through a name change, and they used the old name in the interview about an event. And so they said, nah, we can't use it because we don't want to have the old name of the organization mentioned any more than it is. So we had to scrub an interview. That's very unusual.
Yeah, but now I know that what we used to have to do is get their permission to use something for a specific
Release forms for likeness and all that.
It wasn't just them saying, yeah, I understand you're going to use it. It was using it for a specific thing. So if you talk about like recording somebody and then using it in 5 different venues, I mean.
Well, I think if you say to somebody, I want to record you, and it's going to go on social media, that's just the expectation. And it depends on the, like these guys are saying, it really depends on the context of the kind of event. And if it's a trade show and someone walks up to you and you say, I want to videotape you, we're going to post it on YouTube, and it's going to go, we're going to share it on social media, and they say yes,
And to your point, but I think what you're getting at as well is that, say, using it on a commercial, it was so good, so all these things are legal issues, and you're right. Just so you know, your gut is right. You have to be careful. I'm just a person. I want somebody to sue me one day. I want a big company to, like. Can you imagine the beautiful article? Ramon Ray sued by Xerox for $10 million. That'd be great. I mean, not the lawsuit, but the fame.
I mean, if you're using it for not commercial purposes.
Maybe not that. It's too far. Maybe Ken's like, not me.
If you're using it for not commercial purposes, that's a whole. If you want to use it in an ad, then.
Yeah, it's a whole other world.
Yeah, then you usually have to get permission. I mean, even the brands that use user-generated content go back out to the users and say, can we use your videos for XYZ? Last question, and then we can do some video.
I was just going to speak to that point, so if
No,
we've
go ahead.
answered it. I straddle marketing and journalism, and the big question we have to ask is always, is it journalism or is it marketing? And
Great.
if you're producing it for
Great point.
the use of a company to promote its own services, release city. If it's journalism, and I'm not a lawyer, I haven't been sued yet, so, but if it's journalism and we're just documenting the event, this is the publication it's going to appear in, and you're going to be associated with that publication, that's completely different. That's fair use.
So my question is to that. So if you're a freelancer, you're your own business, you're not an LLC or an incorporated, and you're putting the content with somebody else on your website, you're kind of making your own marketing. So that's like a line.
It's a very gray area.
Right.
My
Because
gut
it is
advice, though, would
those-
be, as one would say, interviewing Mark Cuban. My gut advice. I'm not a lawyer here, so full disclosure. But my gut advice would be, so interviewing Mark Cuban or any famous people like that. I think it's a given implied, hey, Mark, let's do an interview, as we said. I've asked permission, we know it's recording. I think that where it gets issue, he's endorsing me. Or something beyond, that's just I would say but I like what you said. I think our gut instinct is, if we're sharing knowledge, 3 tips with how you can use Twitter better. That's just, it is what it is. This is the world we live in. We get it. But when you start doing something else with it, that's where it gets a bit murky in my opinion.
And you're not really marketing yourself, you're doing an assignment for somebody that's different.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna use that really city.
In different countries, because I lived in Germany a long time, you have to get a release for everything.
Yeah, well, they're super strict there.
Yeah, so, the US is different, but over there for everything, for photos, videos, yeah. And you have to Photoshop them out if they say, no, I don't want
Yeah.
my photo there.
So I thought we could spend the last 10 minutes just doing a couple of practice run videos, and if you have any questions, you can ask these guys. They can walk around and give you some pointers. So maybe just partner up with whoever you're sitting next to and
Take your phones out.
Yeah, ask them, what they do for a living and
Yeah, that's nice, Andrew.
what they learned at this event that they think they're going to use tomorrow or something.
And if you need release forms, Ken has some in his bag as well.
Then you can do those afterwards just for practice.